Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. I have a fabric haul for my baby Bargello quilt. So if you want to see the fabrics that I chose to go along with this quilt top, please stay tuned. If you've been following along with the journey for this baby Bargello quilt, you know that I've designed a way to extend the quilt. Right now it's really long and skinny, but I'm going to extend it so that it at least becomes a twin size quilt. And on the last video, I showed you how I was thinking about designing that quilt. I've had these diagrams and things that I was showing last time, but I decided to draw out a small portion of the quilt so that you can actually see what the design is. Here is the first little section of my baby Bargello quilt. It stops about right here. So where this little skinny yellow strip is, that's the end of the first panel. What I've done is I've drawn that out onto my paper here. I started out with just the centerpiece. This part right here, this inner part, is the current quilt, and I've just listed the colors, or I've colored in at the bottom where these colors are. So here you can see yellow, white, white, and then on the quilt here, yellow, white, white, and so on all the way down to the end of that section. So it's that skinny, the skinny yellow right here. And in order to show the design, all I've done is I'm going to just take a piece of fabric, a strip of fabric that same color. So in this case, it's the yellow, and I'm just going to extend yellow fabric all the way down. And then at the top, it's going to be white, and so I'll extend the white fabric, or off-white, all the way up to the top. And so hopefully now you can get a better idea of what the design is for this quilt. I think what the end goal is that there's just going to be like a wave of color going through the Bargello, and then at the bottom just some extensions of it. So it's like like it's just sprouting out, or like sending out rays, something like that. So I think it's going to be a really cool quilt. Now let's see how I've picked out some fabrics to go along with it. If you've seen the introduction or the video where I made this panel, you know that it came from a Moda scrap bag. Basically what the Moda company does is, if they're cutting like whatever the pre-cuts are, or bolted fabric, whatever, they take the remnants and they put them in these scrap bags. So everything in this quilt, or in this panel, is from one fabric line. When I first created this piece, I tried to figure out what the fabric line was called, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and there were no selvages on my fabrics. I did another Moda scrap bag where they had the name, like they actually had the selvages, and so you can go back and look up the fabric line and see if you can find more fabric if you want to. But this one didn't have that. So what I have to do, or what I had to do, is go to a local fabric store and see what kind of fabrics I could find to extend these strips to finish out the quilt. So what I did was, the first thing I did was I shot my stash. So let me show you some of the pieces that that I got from the stash. Again, these are pieces that I already have, and so I just said, you know, I can use these to finish out this quilt. For my, there are 6 colors, I think, that I pulled from. Let me make sure. I pulled from, so there's going to be white or off-white, yellow, green, teal, light brown, pink, and burgundy. So I was looking for all of those colors before I went to the fabric store. As I was looking through my stash of larger pieces, I only found 2 colors that I had. One was the white or off-white, and so these are the only 2 fabrics I had that fit both the color and I felt would go with the style of the quilt. So I pulled this, and you've seen this before on my on the polyester quilt. And then I got this, this is just some I think it's called grunge fabric that I have. I don't know if how close you can see it on the camera, but it's that off-white, but it does have some mottled colors in there as well. And I have another little tiny piece of that too. So those were the off-whites that I had in my stash. And then as I looked through, I found this, which I felt could go along with the teal. Let me open it out. So it could be a teal, but my concern is that in the quilt, it'll be too dark. So even though the color it sort of fit, I felt like it would be too dark for this quilt. And then here's another one that I pulled just in case I need it. I'm not super concerned about all of the pattern and color in here, because if I needed to use it, it would be such a skinny strip that I think it would still read white or off-white. But I put it to the side for right now. And then for my pinks, I found this in my stash. So it's called a Hop, Skip, and a Jump. And it's by American Jane Patterns Sandy Clock for Moda. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but I thought that it might be cool. Let me see if I can take it closer. There you go. So you can see that it does have some pattern in it, but it still kind of reads as a pink. And then here's another one. Same fabric line. I'm pretty sure I got all of these on sale somewhere in the line. And you can kind of see that it would read as a pink. And then I took all of these things with me today to the quilt shop. And there is a shop that's about 20 minutes away from me that I don't go to often, but I really like it when I can go in there. It's called Patrick's, and it's in Covington. I'll take a picture of, or I'll show you a picture of the outside of the store, the front. It's actually a feed and seed, so you can go and buy seeds or sweet treats or candy. But then on the other side of the store, there's a huge section with quilting fabric. And it's high quality, it's nice fabric. So it's really, it's good to be able to go in there because it's close to me. I will put some pictures of the shop here. When I went in, they were having a class, which I thought was very cool. And she was gracious and brought her students over to see what I was working on. And I thought that was very nice. So I pulled some fabrics. I actually went kind of down my list of colors, and I decided to pull fat quarters because I wanted a lot of variety in my choices. And there were some times when one color appeared twice and it would be right next to each other. So I want to make sure that I have some variety here. So I'll go a little bit at a time. And then I think what I'll do is I'm going to show them all now, and then I'll take a picture of each color and all the fabrics in that color so that you can see it up close. I'm doing this video on my phone, which is very unusual because my camera is in my car and my son has my car. So I'm just doing what I have to do to get this done today. So let's go over it a little bit at a time. Let's see. Let's start with the burgundies, or these are like dark red or burgundy. So when I choose the fabrics, I wanted to kind of go with the feel. Okay, so if it has a little bit of botanical, a little bit of plant life in it, I was for that. But I also look for contemporary type patterns. So some of these will be plant based, like some of these, like this one, it has flowers on it, and I will show it to you up close. And then some of them have just a really neutral design or a tone on tone. And I think that all of these will work together in this quilt. So I chose 2 fat quarters for my burgundy. Okay. And then I have, for my light browns, there are 3 of them. And again, I'll take pictures and insert each color, but this is just so you can kind of see one at a time, one color at a time. Here. All right. And there, I took my little panel around to the fat quarters and just kind of held it up and said, how does this go? How does that go? And I think that I was able to get a good blend of fabrics that way. Then for the yellows, there are 4 of them. And so I'll show those. And they're, because of the tones of the quilt, my yellows are very light. I'm going to be sure to separate them from my white so that I don't get them confused. But I hope that that you can tell on camera that it is a nice yellow, or a nice blend of yellows. So here are my yellows. Okay. And then for my whites or my off-whites, I chose 2 more. And to me, these will go with the other ones. They'll coordinate with them nicely. And again, I have to show you these up close because they're very modeled and very tone on tone. All right, and then last, for my teal, I only need 1 fat quarter. So I went sort of a different route. This one, it has a little girl playing with an umbrella and stuff. Or like, she looks like she's playing with a lot of different things. But I'm not really concerned because, again, they're going to be in such thin strips that it's not going to matter. Okay? And then for my last 2 colors, my green and the pink, I had chosen 4 fat quarters for the green, but I was kind of concerned about cost at this point with all these fat quarters. So I just pulled 1, and these will never actually be side by side in the quilt, so it doesn't matter as much. But here it is, and let's see if I can find the name of it. This is actually 3/4 of a yard of fabric, and it just says Quilting Treasures. So it's from Quilting Treasures, and it has a good selvage, so I look forward to cutting that off and putting that with my selvages. All right, so I want to see if I can zoom in on all of these and you can see them all together, because something interesting happened, and it happens a lot when I quilt. And so here are all of my fabrics laid out, and you can see that they flow nicely together. And then even when you look at them with the quilt, to me it seems to look very cohesive and very coordinated, even though they're not from the same fabric line. So when I got to this point in the quilt, or in my fabric, I went back to what I had brought with me and pulled out these 2 fabrics. Now, I was sort of taken aback, not really taken aback, because this happens a lot, where you have, like when I pull from my stash and then go to the quilt shop, and then what I had from my stash doesn't really work. Because these are much too, I want to say, traditional. I think that these are reproduction fabrics, and so they don't really fit all of these other fabrics. To me, look a little more modern. So then I had to go back and add another pink. And so this is the pink that I chose here. Let me go closer to it. All right, and it's Moda. It says, life is art, live yours in color. That's not the fabric line. Spotted. Okay, that's the name of the line. And I think it coordinates well, and since they're both Moda, I think it works. And then it looks like I have more of the spotted here. This one. And then maybe this one, I'm not sure, in the fat quarters. So when you're out, you know, you might pick an inspiration fabric, but then after you pick all the other fabrics, your inspiration fabric doesn't go. I just had a little bit of drop back and punt, but I think that I've chosen a good palette to work with for this quilt. I really enjoyed my trip to the quilt shop today. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing how I chose my fabrics, and let me know in the comments what you think of the fabric choices. Maybe there's a change that you would have made. I will be doing another video, or another couple of videos maybe, to show how I turn this panel and these fabrics into my vision for the quilt. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about what you've seen, leave them in the comments below. Please thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!